All right. Welcome to Old World Exploration Live. Now, this is my first attempt at a regular live broadcast, weekly live broadcast. Going to go for Tuesdays. So we'll see if I can keep up the schedule, but that's going to be my attempt, and I'll be bringing guests on as I can. And if I can't bring a guest on, then I'll just do it myself. And maybe I'll open up the lines for people to join me. That's always fun. And if I can't do either of those, then I'm sure I'll have another chat that I can post. So try to make it a regular thing on Tuesdays where we can have chat interaction and live interaction. So this is the first of those. And I reached out to Whisperjack, and he said yes. So he'll be joining me here tonight as we just have a chill chat about the old world. I think that's kind of what we're going for. This is Jack's channel here. Whisperjack. I'll put that link. That link should be in the description, actually, already there. So if you don't know Whisperjack or haven't checked out his stuff, make sure you do and give him a sub and all the rest of the good stuff. He's making some pretty cool content out there. And he's also a musician, and it was one of his songs that drew me into his content. So I think before I bring him on here, I'm going to play Jack's Ode to the Old World, the theme of our show this evening, and I'll bring Jack in on the back end of that. So we'll see you then.
I'd like you to know, world, I haven't forgotten the old you, and I'm not so certain things are better now. They only tell us the truth, and I've never forgotten the visions of old that I see in those photographs and through these surveys. No, I won't let it go. I'm resurrecting your memory to the old world. My heart goes out to you. It is in your legend, and your virtue is why my heart and yours stays true. And I reject the new one, though I'm grateful for some of the nice things we have. I'll never let your memory fade from my mind. No, I won't let it die. No, I won't let it die. In the meantime, in the meantime, in the meantime, in the meantime, no, I won't let it die. Till you hear that thunder, there's millions of hearts out there beating for you. Is it any wonder, through all of the trash that knew you put us through? And I know that sifting through all of the nonsense that they spew is hard. Still, you were worth every minute and hour and second. And no, I won't let it die. No, I won't let it die. In the meantime, in the meantime, in the meantime, I won't let it die. No, I won't let it die. So cheers to the old world, and cheers to anyone remaining so true. Here's to the whole world, shifting all its perspective, focusing on you. I'll offer it freely. I'll offer all the love and the light we had back. Although from what I can tell, it will probably have to. They'll probably kill me for that. In the meantime, so this one goes out to the old world.
All right. Without further ado,
All right.
Jack,
Yeah.
thanks for joining me.
Yeah, man, happy to be here. Very happy to be thrilled and honored.
No, it's good to have you. It's good to have you. I appreciate your input, and I enjoy your your wit in your videos and what you bring to the table. So
Well,
let's
that's
do it.
humbling, man. Thank you, and thank you as well for the opportunity and uh and all that you do.
Yeah, the chat's picking up. It's cool. We got. I posted a bunch. We got people from all over the place tuning in. It's easy to forget sometimes that what kind of impact you can make when you're doing this kind of thing online.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, right. All these eyes coming in from all these different locations, and it's pretty special for sure. Sharing our thoughts and ideas.
Totally, it is warming. Yeah, I'm always shocked that. Yeah, you're right. Just the wide range from small towns, from all over. Man, it's a great thing.
Yeah, the battle's the time zones too, because it's like I'm in Pacific and it's on Eastern. I guess you're probably going to bed and stuff. So I was worried about scheduling this so late, but you got to live in the time zone you live
No,
in.
yeah,
It's
I'm right
tough.
by you. I mean, I'm a Pacific part of the year.
Yeah.
I'm in Phoenix, so we're like the only state that doesn't do daylight savings. So, but there's only like an hour difference, so
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
good. But I keep odd hours anyway, so it's never an inconvenience.
So we didn't really plan specifically anything to get into. I think we should throw some visuals up, and then we can maybe get our thoughts going. Unless there's anything you wanted
Cool.
to throw in before we do.
No, I'm here
Good
for
to
it.
go. Okay, I got a video of do we go state capitals or city halls? You call it. Heads or tails?
Heads,
Okay,
whichever one that is.
we'll go state capitals. State capitals is a good
Okay.
way to kick it off,
Yeah, okay, that's a good one. Yeah,
because it's weird because it's the states, right? Like every state gets a capital. It's like each state is its own country almost. You know, when you
Totally.
get into that picture. Yeah, it's
yeah.
kinda
And there's a lot of I've seen a little bit of energy generated about this idea, dating back to some very old laws that the way the things are written of the law, they are actually individual nation states. We just don't tend to think of it that way, especially with like the federal overreach. It certainly doesn't feel that way, but I think it used to be much more like that.
interesting. This is getting into what America used to be, and then
Yeah, allegedly.
what
Yeah.
I think it's what we know of Americans past and the world's past is the fake American past and the fake Canadian past. I think that's the cover story, and that's what
Absolutely.
we're trying to uncover. Yeah, and it's pretty neat to be in a time where you can sort of unearth a lot of that stuff and have the means to do it like we do, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the internet is, it's a blessing and a curse sometimes. But to
Totally.
do, I mean, things we take for granted. I think back previous decades, in order to look at something like the Library of Congress, you'd have to actually go to Washington D.C. and schedule, like a research sessions, and just the amount of things you can look at in an afternoon. It would take weeks using an index card system, and so we are able to connect dots so much more rapidly. It's something that's unprecedented, really.
Think about how many places we still don't have access to. I think about that a lot. Like I'm not a a professor or going for a professorship at a specific university. So there's no way they're letting me into certain areas of their libraries. It's like an initiation process to get the knowledge.
Totally.
Right.
And even the things I do release to the public, like when you go through these little surveys, they jump gaps. They jump, I'm assuming that when they numbered them, they went, 1 through 300, whatever, but they'll jump from 1, 7, 12, 13. So I'm always like, yeah, this is what you gave to the public, but what's in between? What'd you throw out and why? Yeah.
What was redacted, right?
Yeah, it's never going to be the whole picture.
Yeah. This is by the way, Arkansas, state capital. They built 1900 to 1915. Yeah. It probably
Yeah,
could have
none
been
of these
almost
buildings-
any. They look the same, don't they? Don't they all look the same?
They look the same everywhere. It's bizarre. And a lot of times I wonder, there's certain states that have capitals that don't seem to be anywhere near like the economic center of the city, like Albany, New York, or a lot of them don't make sense. And it's almost like, well, if it's the best building in the state, we have to make it the capital regardless of what's going on there. It's kind of what it seems like.
Yeah. I always wondered that. Why? I always asked my parents growing up, why isn't the biggest one the capital? Like you just think that would make sense. And it's same
Yeah.
up in here in Canada too, right? It's yeah, because they didn't have the Capitol building.
Right. It would be hard to explain like why. Yeah, I don't. It's bizarre.
Yeah, this one's the story on this one too. I did a
Beautiful.
video on this a couple of years ago in Arkansas, and apparently prisoners built it. This one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But those are some prisoners.
Skilled prisoners. is what
Yeah.
they were.
And then the videos you see of prisoners, it's like they're just breaking rocks on like a chain gang. They're
Yeah.
just doing the most menial labor.
They're not looking to do a good job, right? And tighten up that
Yeah.
line and yeah, totally. I'm just looking at the chat here too. I have a few chat mods in here. Kairos is one of my guys. Oh, just missed him. There's a few others. We'll see if they pop
Recognize
in.
that name?
Yeah, I'm Kairos.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's San Fran area, and he does some crazy boots on the ground melt videos, which we can get.
Oh,
into
that's
that here,
okay.
too.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because I think
Yeah.
I've seen him. I think I've seen him featured on a few live streams you've had. I think I was kind of trolling the peanut gallery during a few of them.
Yeah, right on. Yeah.
if I remember right.
Well, it's so crucial having the people with the technology we have in that regard too. We get drones going on now, and high res cameras. People are capturing, remote areas.
Yeah.
that look like buildings that were decimated. So
Yeah, I've seen some pretty cool stuff with the LiDAR. People using that as
Yeah.
well. So
yeah, just grown over. And LiDAR sort of gives you the layer underneath the foliage. That's right, with the dirt and everything. That gives you the base layer. Look.
I haven't
Yeah.
used it, but I've seen some really interesting stuff about that, like doing the Amazon forest and seeing what appears to be a city in that jungle, it's almost as if the Amazon was just a garden or an agricultural center that just went out of control. That's kind of what it seems like from some LiDAR videos I watch, which
That's an interesting
That's-
take. Yeah.
yeah, that's a whole nother.
And they the timeline on what they are finding when they do find stuff in those areas is skewed, right? They're trying to fit it into like 1,000 years ago, far enough back where we don't really care enough to know. Almost, it seems to be.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, and you keep everybody war torn and divided and moving around with refugees, and it's just a lot of people don't have the ability to just explore and research at their own pace. I mean, I
yeah,
really I feel it's a blessing every day, really, to have that convenience, I guess.
yeah, you're right. And most of us are stuck in the survival mode. It's the only reason I got into this is because my day job allows me some time to focus on other things. And this is sort of what I got into. But most people are just trying to make ends meet, and they don't have
Absolutely.
time for. It has to be a real passion too to follow this stuff, like unpopular opinion, like to take the unpopular opinion. People always say like, "Oh, you're just doing this for clicks. You're doing this for likes." Well, they don't always say it, but I get it. And it's like, why would I take the unpopular stance for popularity?
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Very few people wake up and just decide, I want to kind of ostracize myself from
Yeah.
friends and family and any intellectual conversation that you may have around a dining room of friends. It can go south. I feel like most people don't. They like to be liked. Of course, we all like to be liked, and
Yeah.
but yeah, we all agree. It just makes things feel better. But yeah, so I don't understand that. Anyone that accuses you of that, I don't think they've thought that through.
Yeah, it's tough too because you don't want to come across as egotistical and say, "Oh, well, I see something you don't."
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's my worry. It's like that's not what I'm trying to say. But would you please open up to the possibility? That's sort of my frustration.
Absolutely. And it's part of human nature. I've noticed that even in myself, there's a knee-jerk reaction usually when presented with new information. It's just an immediate no. And I've learned that you just got to let people have that reaction and then let them think about it. Over time, it's amazing, what conclusions people come to when they're left to their own devices,
Yeah, yeah.
But it's hard not to just argue right away and dump 1,000 pictures on them and be like, look. Yeah, it's
you
tough.
just want to hammer them with volume, right? Like here.
Yeah. Diplomacy is like a fine art, you know?
Yeah, I don't have it. Just ask my wife. She knows that. Yeah, I try to be gentle on my channel. I'm trying to. We were talking about this before we went live, like casting a net, and hopefully you get a few people to turn their heads each time. But you're not going to get them all, right? It's
yeah. I mean, you're not going to get. Yeah, I mean, usually to me, it's just about planting a seed, and just hoping for the best.
But then when you get to talk to somebody who's open to it, like you and I are chatting, there's an energy there too. Like we could go anywhere with it, right?
Oh yeah, it's lovely. It's so rare that I can actually have a conversation about this and not have to, baby step it, I guess.
Yeah. And that's that luxury we have again. This is California.
Okay, I was going to ask. This is Sacramento?
Sorry, I switched. Yes, it's 1860 to 1874. They threw this one up in Sacramento. That's right.
Of course.
Yeah.
Was that before or after they had I don't know, they had a huge flood there.
They had a couple. Yeah. I did a video on Sacramento. I think there were a couple at mid 1800s and then into the 1860s. And I think they started building this when one of the floods happened, 1861 or 2, if I recall. Supposedly that would have been the basement time, actually, because you start your build down low. So
there's like an anecdote about Leland Stanford having to row a boat to his inauguration event, and when he became the governor, it's like, really?
so I mean, it's hard.
Maybe
it's hard to take this stuff seriously anymore. Any event, really.
Yeah, where was he rowing from, and who just has a rowboat lying around? If you're not accustomed to, I don't know. It just seems like maybe it wasn't just such an abrupt flood. It seems like maybe it was like that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, or some of it's definitely a cover story too, right? I noticed the floods and the fires are a way to explain away. First of all, to give a false start, right? It's like, okay, this city started right after the fire, right after the flood, right? And
they work both ways. I think we touched on this last time. I think they work both ways, as a way to destroy the past, and then also a way to be like, well, everything burnt down, but then we quickly rebuilt it. Just, it was crappy before. Now we built it better. And what you're seeing is new construction, because like we did it.
Yeah.
There's nothing funny going on.
And
it works both ways.
Yeah. We put the date right on the front, just in case there's any doubt. That's
just
like that's a weak cover story as far as I'm concerned now. Slapping the date on the front of the building. It's like I'm trying to find an analogy, but it's like that's almost an admission of guilt. Is my eyes.
Very weird. Yeah, very weird. They almost look like addresses. But yeah, it's very weird. It's like, what else? When did we stop doing that? Yeah. I mean, little kids carve their name in the wet concrete, but like, why are adults putting the date of the bill? It just seems too forced almost.
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's one of those things that again, people like you and I who look into the stuff, or it kind of catches your eye, but it can go right past people that don't think twice about these things.
Right.
I'd say.
And there's a phrase they use: quickly rebuilt.
Yes.
Anytime I read quickly rebuilt, I'm like, well,
yeah, that was like Seattle. Yeah, they quickly rebuilt 500 buildings in 1 year out of brick.
Yeah.
It's
more than that. It's like 5,000. It's ridiculous. It's like 5,400 buildings in a year. No problem.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, right? And that, and the statue work
Not
too.
Really, no.
This reminds me a lot of World's Fairs too. You can see all the statues along the roof line there. This is still the California building.
A lot of that. And a lot of them were removed. They say, well, it's no longer in vogue. I can't think I came across once a weird shopping center in West Virginia. I think it was West Virginia, somewhere out of place. And they're like, yeah, there was rows of statues all across the top, but we took them down. It's almost like if I commissioned somebody to put statues all over my building, I don't know why I would take it down.
Yeah.
It's almost like they were there and you didn't like them.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems more plausible.
This is a shopping center you're talking about?
Yeah, it was a shopping center, yeah. It looked a lot like this, except without the dome. but the same kind of like
Yeah,
some kind of porch or rooftop. I don't know what they call that.
I suspect a lot of those buildings that were just flat roof now did have a dome, and I know I've seen a lot in my investigations as well. So they removed so much of the upper reaches. I think there was a concerted effort actually going on to remove a lot of the any sort of domes and decoration on the tops of a lot of these structures all over the place.
I mean, it makes sense. It's
Yeah.
a lot of them are just half nude pagan gods almost, or and it's like I don't know when we were ever totally on board with that.
Yeah, it doesn't jive really with the founding story. I think.
No, as a nation of immigrants running from someplace crappy,
Yeah.
and then just we're gonna bring
Yeah.
statues with us. I don't know.
Let's go Rome. We're gonna get homage to Rome, right?
Seems way too odd. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is Minnesota, 1896 to 1905 build time.
God. That's
Yeah.
a beautiful building.
I saw. What is his name? Hidden Truth. Hidden Truth. Are you familiar with that channel?
Hidden Truth? I don't think so.
Oh yeah, he does boots on the ground. He goes into these buildings. He went into this one, and this
Oh,
whole
really?
thing,
Okay.
this is all marble, outside and inside. All
Yeah, it's
marble.
incredible, the interiors of a lot of these. And sometimes far more impressive than the outside.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this looks amazing on the outside, but when you get inside, I mean, he's definitely of the mind that we're in the millennial reign. No, we're in the little season and post-millennial reign of Christ. That's the biblical scholars' version of what's going on. And I think
it
this is
seems
true.
like that. It certainly seems like it. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it just kind of fits in with the idea that we're standing in the footsteps of on the shoulders of giants. However
Yeah,
they phrase it. That would
literally,
fit in.
almost literally, like architecturally, definitely. Right. I had that thought the other day, actually, with that phrase, that exact phrase. It's like that. Maybe that's where it comes from. Maybe those are little tells in our lexicon.
Yeah, there's probably lots of that
Yeah.
weird wordplay.
Like on the level. Are you on the level? That's another one too, right?
Do you ever
Go ahead.
are you familiar with Neil Oliver?
Mhm.
You ever seen Neil Oliver?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Scotsman, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Scottish journalist. He's come a long way,
Hmm.
and I love his little monologues. Now, not that he's exactly here to this point yet. I mean, he questions a lot of things, but he said something the other day in one of his little monologues, and he talked about the three, I guess, steps of generations, how it works, how there's builders, and then there's the ones that grow up, the children of the builders, that kind of see how it's done and try to emulate it, and then the third generation is just unimpressed, uninterested, and doesn't have the skills. And I think he's talking about more on a smaller scale, but I think that can be magnified also in larger than generations, where it's chunks of time. And that makes sense because I do see a lot of buildings that emulate these styles, but they're made out of terracotta or they're made out of, they're almost an homage or an imitation of, that don't have what some of these other ones have with the copper domes and the iron and the cast iron stuff. So, I definitely see some truth to that. I love that guy, man.
I followed him closely through the pandemic years because he was red pilling everybody he could.
Absolutely. He's like, call me conspiracy theorist. I no longer care.
I'm not sure about this Fauci character.
He's so good.
Yeah, and in a way, that relatable way, like he's somebody my mother would come to me and say, we watched Neil Oliver, and so comparatively he reaches a different audience. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. And he's been doing it for a long time. I mean, he used to just be in love with British history, and he's got a whole really good podcast where he's going to, but he at the time he was really buying the narrative, but it's still fascinating. I love watching old history channels, even if I think they get it wrong sometimes. I think if you don't know the story, the official story, it's hard to find the cracks in between,
Yeah, and that takes a bit of work too, and it takes a bit of like sifting through, like, oh man,
Absolutely.
really? Yeah, and some of these academics even admit we don't know So we're going to make up a narrative on this. They even come right out and admit it, right? A lot of the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Which is interesting.
And there's a lot of things that they just say that's pseudo science or that's quackery. You know, those aren't real pyramids. They just look like them.
Yeah, well, that's why it's interesting about the time we're living in now, because that mindset has been exposed through the pandemic years. That approach to reality is now, I think it's I don't know how to put it, but I think it's got a short shelf life because so many people are seeing through those lies. I don't know if that makes sense. Not just
no, it does.
Yeah. So it's not just when they said trust the science or whatever. It's not just that. This is the way your mind worked under that paradigm, and it's not working anymore. So
and the more people you lie to, and then the more people that figure that out, they're going to be skeptical, and that just eventually there's no putting it back in the box. So eventually they got to either wipe everybody out or distract everybody or just cause enough war that we got bigger things to worry about, which seems to be at some level part of the agenda. It seems to be, I don't know. I mean, I feel cautiously optimistic.
Oh, me too. I actually think they've given up. I think they know they're done. That's actually where I see a lot of people saying, "Oh no, we're going to get this, we're going to get that." I'm like, I don't think so. I think it's done and dusted. We just need to catch up.
I agree. I think we dodged a bullet somehow. I think that we
had help
for now. Yeah.
But
we'll be back.
We're our consciousness. We're empowering our consciousness, I think, and that's what this game is. I think they found a way to dampen our awareness levels. So if you think back to when you were a kid, think about the general consciousness level of the adults at the time. You're not thinking too deeply, and I don't want to paint everyone with this brush because there's always exceptions, but you're not thinking too deeply about existence, about a lot of these things. We talked about survival mode, right? And that's where they've had most of us for quite some time.
Totally.
It just doesn't allow you to expand.
And then from there, it went to like a very comfortable sort of a bunch of people that were, I don't want to say self-righteous, because but they were kind of like fed this narrative there. You're the good guy. Everything we do is for the greater good. Trust us. We're going to take your gold. It's for the world, and it's like, it's like preying on trusting people is just so despicable. It's just really sickening.
I think that, thinking about the Doors, Jim Morrison, he had a line that said, "No eternal reward will forgive us now for wasting the dawn." I feel like this happened like in the 60s with the hippie movement, and they were able to stamp it out like a consciousness revolution. There was an intention there with JFK assassination. People are waking up to the powers that be, and they brought in LSD and went boom. No, and so this is another kick at the can, maybe, of that.
Yeah, they managed to destroy an anti-war movement completely and sort of turn it into a mockery, which is too bad, because I believe anti-war is it's a good thing at its heart. I mean, I don't know who wants that.
Well, we do. We do know who wants that. At some
few.
level.
Yeah, a select few. Yeah. The ones that aren't afraid of dying in combat, the ones that get asylum in here and there. Like you lose the war, now you're a war criminal, and you got to find some other country who lets you live in a mansion there, and you can live out your days in peace. But it's like, not a bad deal, I guess.
Another interesting part of the old world research that we're uncovering is an underlying reason behind a lot of these wars is to erase the culture and architecture of all these places in the world over the last 100 and 200 years. They've been using us to war against ourselves to destroy our own culture and architecture.
Absolutely. Like when it was revealed that ISIS was running around blowing up monuments in places like Yemen, and it's like that doesn't really seem to be part of their mission statement. So it seems like they're on someone's payroll to do it. I have no proof of that. It doesn't seem to jive with their ideological
The
you know.
Taliban did that too, right? And we know they're all
Yeah.
who they're trained by. We kind of have an idea where ISIS is trained by.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I think it's a pretty.
yeah,
That's a pretty open secret now, I think.
yeah.
At least
It
in
makes
some
me think of
circles.
World War II. Yeah, no, for sure. And makes me think of World War II and the directives to destroy cities, which apparently were given by Allied forces. Even
Absolutely.
there's
Yeah, accidentally hitting a church. You know, when you're bombing strategic bridges in France to keep, armies from crossing them. It's just there's way too much of that. To be an accident.
totally. Yeah, it's
Which one is this now?
Connecticut.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Look at that bad boy.
it's not bad, eh? It's not bad. Take a look.
Yeah.
Let's get a little closer.
I just wonder even how what that statue's got to be 20 feet tall.
Oh,
That top.
this one?
How,
Yeah, I don't know.
how they even get that up there?
Well, you get up there and measure it with the tape measure. Right? How
And then
long
you
would
just-
that take?
You pull it up with ropes. Get a couple dudes.
What about the?
And just
Yeah, look all around here, right? Like a crown of statues. And yeah, this is a
insane.
banger building. This is crazy, and the fact that it still stands surprises me. I thought they would have at least taken the dome off at this point in time. You know,
It is nuts.
there must be some. There must be some reason maybe they keep some of these intact. Like it's part of a network of energy they need to maintain to keep their control. Maybe.
Yeah,
At
it
some
does
level.
seem like that sometimes. It definitely seems like I can't figure out how, but definitely, unless they're just ignorant and literally they think by now that this is just theirs and they don't think twice about it. I don't know. It is a
Yeah.
mystery.
Maybe we give them too much credit sometimes with their conniving plans. Maybe they're just a
Mhm.
bunch of divided idiots.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you could pick your political leader, but it seems like the second and third generations of the children of the real evil guys
Mhm.
are kind of just spoiled brats.
Mhm.
Like Hunter Biden just seems like a loose cannon rather than a conniving, intelligent,
Mhm.
mover and shaker.
Mhm.
So, they're criminals and, they're just self-serving, but they're not really masterminds of anything. It doesn't appear to be. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it could be the bait and switch, but
Yeah, like George W. Bush is like the most intelligent world leader of all time, and you just
right.
you just flip the script on it.
Yeah.
Right?
All you have to be is kind of likable.
I was watching him on the inauguration. I think he was there yesterday, and he's just making all these goofy faces. He's funny, man. I
He is
enjoyed
funny.
those years for that reason, the George W. Bush years.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember the scene of that where he's like, he's asked some important question. He's like, yeah, it's all fine, but now watch this drive. And he just
Yeah.
steps back to the golf
Yeah.
and just hits it.
Yeah.
It's like that guy, he's like that friend that you shouldn't have. He's like a holdover friend from college that your
Yes.
wife hates.
Yes,
He just reminds me of that. Where it's like,
Yes.
but I like him for some reason. Like he's a knucklehead.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, in his case, he's, his knuckleheadedness is pretty evil. But
he
it's hard not
lives-
to like some of these people.
He lives to piss off daddy, though, and he's probably has been abused since birth. Let's be honest. A lot of
you're
these
born
guys.
into it, and
Yeah. So I mean, at some level, our humanity has to reach out to the human side of them, as much as we
Totally.
want justice and want to see them pay for everything they've done. you know.
totally.
It's,
And I mean, you don't get far in the political world usually unless you have some sort of charisma or charm. So
mhm, mhm.
it kind of goes hand in hand.
Do you remember when he said he was looking for weapons of mass destruction? He's like, "Nope, they're not under here. Let's check in there." Nope.
Yeah,
over there.
okay. It was ridiculous.
Toying with it's crazy. This is Idaho. All right, let's go.
Idaho, man.
Mhm.
Yeah, they all look so very similar.
Yeah, right. Boise, I think. Yeah, Boise.
Is there a capital that doesn't have that dome?
There are.
I'm trying to think.
Mm,
Is there like a modern, like a
well, there's
Neo.
Nebraska's got a
Like-
weird one. Nebraska's got this one. Oh no, is that Nebraska? No, this is Louisiana.
what?
Weird,
I don't
right?
think I've seen that one.
And Nebraska's is similar. It's got the erect tower up the middle.
Yeah, it looks like a big middle finger.
Totally. Yeah, yeah, right. Um, one of my favorites, and I know I'm sure you've seen all these before, but this one, the Five Dome special from
Yes.
Des Moines, Iowa. I just saw it.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say it was somewhere up in the Midwest.
Yeah, I was going to say down.
Yeah, that
in the
one's
Midwest.
ridiculous.
Oh man, I thought I had it in front of me. That's okay. That's too many buildings in my files.
Oh yeah, man, I feel you.
That's this one. Oh, this is the old New York State Capitol.
They just draw the dome on the top, or what is that?
Yeah, looks like it's been filled in. All right, just like
Oh.
they're just showing us what they do with these
What?
photos. Yeah, because that's not
That-
there anymore.
So I guess what they're trying to do is like put a new photo up against the old photo and say, "This is what it used to look like." I don't know.
I don't know. Or like, those are the gray areas that sort of get on my nerves. It's like, well, they don't really tell you, was this built? Was this just a design concept that never got built? There's no
Right.
clarity in a lot of these things, you know.
It is bizarre.
So, because that's what it looks like right now. This is the New York one in Albany, and we're talking about small cities.
Yeah, yeah,
Why
yeah.
would Albany be the capital of New York?
Very weird.
Yeah.
Out of all the places,
Look what it's surrounded by here too. Look at these two so Star Trek looking things on the
man,
side.
that's a beautiful building.
Yeah. Oh man, it's here's some of the interior.
God,
All right.
how is that in the budget? Sorry, was that me?
No, that was me. That was my kids. So I'm about to.
Oh.
I'm inclined to go upstairs and yell at my kids for.
No, it's fine. I thought I was
That's so
bugging something.
unprofessional. Anyone watching this is
No.
going to kill me. In
It's
the comments.
amazing that you have kids and you're still able to do this kind of research. To be honest with you, I don't know how
Well, I pop them on a
anyone
screen.
with kids.
You just put them on a screen. It's easy for a couple of.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, it's a hell of a drug, right? The screen is a hell of a drug.
Yes, it is. Now, are there stories behind these men and they're just these
Well, so this is a good
These-
topic to get into. Do you like?
these stone gods?
Yeah, like do they? So if we're going to go with, let's just run with the narrative that they falsified our history and
Mhm.
the old world. This what we're seeing here is a part of the old world. So there would have to have been a process where they attribute these characters to fit their narrative, right? Is that what we're seeing here? Is the name being attributed to this gentleman here, and a likeness? That's what I wonder a lot. Even
don't
about
know.
characters like George Washington, characters that come up all the time. Makes me wonder. Did they have or even Mount Rushmore, right? Like, did they have to put their likenesses
Very
in?
odd.
How much of a production is history, really?
Yeah, like are they like retconning these figures into history? I mean, I don't understand why there's statues of George Washington in France. I just don't understand. Like
Is there really?
there are, yeah, and I like those equestrian statues or whatever. There's a few of them, and it's like I don't understand when was he ever even in France for them to give a damn? I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Unless it's just he has a chiseled jaw, and then they just call him George Washington, and really he's supposed to be someone else. I don't know.
He just looks like somebody that. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there's just a million dudes that kind of look alike, and they're like, that's George too.
Clones. Oh boy, here we go. We just cracked the seal on clones. I saw a comment earlier, actually, about clones. About do you think
the wooden teeth, dude?
What's that?
The wooden teeth, George Washington. Get out of here with that.
No, you got to tell. I'm Canadian, so you got to educate me on that story.
It's
What's
just
the
something
story
that
there?
every kid knows. It's like George Washington, yeah, he had wooden teeth. It's like he's the only
Really?
guy in history. Yeah, I suppose he had wooden teeth, which is ridiculous. He's like, what? Like, I'd rather just have like no teeth. I guess. Like, what good are wooden teeth gonna do? Like, they just would just dissolve. And then if you actually look at the photograph of his alleged wooden teeth, I guess they took him out after he passed or whatever. They look so silly, and it's clearly a drawing. Like it's clearly like
Of course it is.
and it's just like okay, so yeah, because it's like there's no. It's just a silly story. It's like And I bet you every kid is still taught George Washington with wooden teeth. Can you imagine giving a speech with wooden teeth in, like, to a bunch of freezing soldiers? It makes no sense.
So I actually didn't know that. I've heard of it before. I didn't know the story behind that, and that's obviously part of the narrative Americans grow up with, right? It's in your school system.
Yeah, it's
Right.
weird. It's like George Washington, he cuts down a cherry tree and he admits it to his dad. He's like, I can't tell a lie. Oh, he's so honorable, and then he has wooden teeth. And it's just, I don't know, man. It just all seems like a fairy tale.
It's well, it's the was it the cow kicked over the lantern? That's a part of it too.
Right.
Is that a part of what you
Yeah.
grow up with? Because I've heard that.
Yeah, the Chicago fire, right?
Yeah.
Mrs.
Yeah,
Leary,
yeah.
Mrs. Leary, or something. Mrs. O'Leary.
Yeah. So these are things that I'm not aware of growing up in Canada, but obviously you guys, it's a part of your curriculum growing up. to learn
Totally.
these things.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, there's a
interesting.
lot of that. Now I'm really skeptical of anything that is just a knee-jerk reaction to kids, or even phrases that people say.
Mm.
A lot of times I just sort of question it.
Mhm.
The things that we're told about. Everyone knows that mercury's bad for you, and everyone knows that lead paint. Like, there's just a lot of things that's like, you kind of go back and look at it. It's like, well, did they have a reason for lying? Almost like the Hindenburg.
Mhm.
It's like
Have
car
you heard of?
crashes, plane crashes all the time. I don't know why
Yeah.
that one was such a big deal.
They had to get rid of it just because of one incident, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Do you know the lead paint one where they switched over because they knew they would need the radio waves to penetrate our dwellings? So they took the lead out of the paint.
I had heard that. Yeah, that is an interesting theory. I mean,
Yes,
that
it is.
makes sense.
It is interesting. Definitely. Definitely. Other things too, when you go back into, is it radium? Radium?
Mm-hmm.
That's another
Weird
one.
stuff about that too. Yeah.
Hmm. Like it's not, because there's an incident, a famous incident with the radium girls or something like that. Whenever there's like a highlight story to throw you off the scent, you should be really skeptical of what they're trying to lead you off of, what scent they're trying to lead you off of. That's
Right.
how I look at it.
And then they often show that that I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was the guy that was drinking radium, like vials, hundreds of them or thousands
Yeah.
of them,
Yeah.
and then his whole jaw fell off and stuff. But then there's a picture that they often post that was later proven to be like, no, that was just a soldier that suffered a horrific facial injury. It wasn't even actually the guy. And it's like, well, still, that's probably what he looked like. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I just don't know how that gets mixed up,
Yeah. Yeah. And people will look at you and say, must you question everything?
Well,
You know?
now, yeah.
You kind of should be. You kind of should be, right? Like, I feel like
Isn't that science?
yeah, we've been trained to be skeptical of everything that comes our way. It seems over the last couple of years, if we weren't before,
Mhm.
like a lot more of us are just like, I don't think so. I'm not going to be fooled by whatever crap you're going to put in front of me. I've been tempered in the BS of the last few years. Let's say.
Yeah, it's not like you set out to be skeptical.
No.
It's just eventually you are forced that way because so much nonsense.
Yeah. And so obvious in some ways too. Yeah. I'm gonna go over to city halls,
Okay.
and most of them are postcards, but we'll go off continent here too. Probably worth doing. This
Oh, yeah.
yeah, Rotterdam, Holland, right? Have you ever been over to Europe?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
I spent about a summer there. It was a long time ago. Before I was paying attention,
Mhm.
visiting castles and running around and just accepting the stories.
Mhm.
I would love to go back now, and I'd just probably be overwhelmed, honestly.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
It's crazy. That's a whole nother side of the story,
Yeah.
that they're given. And it's
Well-
always just Romans and Etruscans and Visigoths or whatever. It's like it's all been conquered, reconquered to the point where no one really cares who built the castle anymore. It's just
Mhm.
that's almost like they're just inundated with the point where they're numb. I don't know. Guess I can't speak
Well,
for it.
you got to think about World War II as well, right? Middleburg. Check this one
So
out.
much drama.
Yeah, but it was like, I think it really, we're looking at a collective mind wipe, consciousness mind wipe in World War II.
It definitely seems like something along that scale.
I don't think we can really grasp what happened during those years, but there was shell shock. Everyone was shell shocked after, even from generations, even right down to our time. I talked to my parents and in-laws of that generation, and you don't talk about the war. It was deeply ingrained in their psyche, in the way that they lived. You just kind of moved forward. You didn't look back.
What are those are those like little zeppelins or something? What are
No, I
in
don't
the
think so.
sky there?
I can't say for sure. Probably just a defect on the postcard.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it looks like it's just a marking.
Yeah. Look at that. This is ridiculous.
That is wild.
Right. And one thing we forget about too is, even according to the history they give us, if we go back to 1900, you're still dealing with empires in Europe, especially. Like, you're not dealing with the nation state as we know it. You're dealing with the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah,
There's the Prussian situation earlier than that.
and wars based on churches. So many churches. It's a strange thing when you see all these depictions of peasants wandering around outside, and then the church is just endless money. Endless money to build however fancy thing they want. It's just like, can't you do without a few of those towers and like feed some of the community? Isn't that what it's supposed to be all about? Like,
You'd think, right?
Yeah.
And then that breeds sort of the contempt, which they used against us to turn against God as well. They used that, our contempt for the church, to turn against God.
And the guilt. If you don't give 10%, guilt.
Yeah, the guilt's a big one, right? But if you look at the sheer volume of churches that were said to have been built within a short period of time, it makes no sense that they would have funded that operation. Alexandria City, Virginia, 1890.
This is in Virginia?
Yes.
Wow.
Alexandria City. Look on the top here, the ridge line. Okay, let's get closer on that.
Yeah, what is that? Is that like cast iron? I mean, it looks just like radio antennas.
It's crazy. Imagine like going up to the top and you got to cap the ridge with this cast iron fence, and you're like, "But sir, can't we just cap it with the slate?"
Yeah, for what?
What's the point of this? How are we going to fasten it?
Don't they say that? Isn't there like Benjamin Franklin essentially, figured out that lightning was electric, and then he invented the lightning rod? I don't know how that fits in with. Well, then then these can't be lightning rods that are hundreds of years prior to that.
Yeah.
This is like, did they think that people weren't going to compare notes across the oceans? I don't know. I mean, that whole story's silly anyway. I don't even know how tying a key to a kite string would prove anything. No matter what happened. I personally can't wrap my head around. It's like, what? The kite got struck by lightning, and then you found out lightning was electric? Like, isn't it kind of obvious? I don't know.
That's the 1700s, right, Franklin?
Yeah, it had to be, yeah.
Hellfire Franklin, they call him?
Yeah. Yeah.
They say they found bodies under his floorboards or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what this story is. I mean,
it could all be myth, of course.
It's hard to say. I mean,
yeah.
I read these stories about, and then he went to France, and then he, messed around with a bunch of brothels and stuff, and then he came back to America. You go going back and forth like it's easy. It's like, I think that's like a 2-month journey by sailboat.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like these people did that rather frequently,
willy-nilly,
for that kind of risk.
Yeah. No, you're right. That's interesting too. It is interesting too how all these inventions spring out of America and Western Europe predominantly. They're all Freemasons. That's interesting too.
Yeah, and it's a convenient story that's like, well, everywhere we went, we built a church. So if you find something like this in Vietnam, well, it's because the French were there. Or if you find something like this out, and it's just rather convenient. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. But of course, we can't say we know much. we're just speculating, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
that's where we're at. And then, you know, sometimes I get rebutted in my videos and like, you're saying this. I'm like, I'm not saying anything for sure. I'm just saying what they're saying makes no sense. That's all I'm
Right.
saying. Really.
Right. Yeah. I mean, how could we ever know? And
Mhm.
I'm okay with that. I'm
Yeah.
okay with not knowing, but it's still, I feel like the adventure of truth is, I feel like it's worthwhile.
hmm hmm
You know.
I think that's what repulses some people from seeking it is they're not okay with not knowing. So they'd
Mhm.
rather know what they're told to know than not know.
Yeah. They
If
want the
that makes
steady
sense.
floor. They want the the foundation. I've
Yeah.
never been that way. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with it too. I'd love to know. I don't think I would ever believe it if I was told for certain what it was. I'd be like, well, you know, there's got to be some part
Yeah.
of that story that, you know, the constant skeptic on everything, right?
Yeah, it's the only way I know how to be. Even when I wasn't really suspicious. I remember just looking back at stars with friends and being like, I don't know, man, millions of light years, that seems weird. At the time, I didn't suspect anybody of lying. I just thought we were just wrong. I
Mhm.
just thought, I don't know, man, there's something else going on.
Yeah.
I didn't get suspicious that there was actually, it was a concerted effort until it became obvious.
Yeah. And then, yeah, and then you know, I'm okay with being wrong too. I'm gonna step out on this ledge and say, what if I propose a different option here? It might sound stupid, but and you
Yeah.
have to actually suck it up and be okay with being ridiculed, right? For speaking outside of the consensus.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, even the stories that they tell you as a child, it's like Christopher Columbus or whoever it was, when he first presented the idea that it was a globe, they laughed at him. They threw him out,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's like, but it is. So it's like, well,
Mhm.
okay, but I mean, so right there, you're teaching us in a way that we could be wrong about it
Yeah.
all, and it's okay to be laughed at, maybe, because 500 years later, everyone will know your name.
Columbus. Yeah. That's one of the best ones, the Columbus story. Sailed the ocean blue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. This is Cape Town, South Africa, by the way. I forgot to mention.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff down there, man. Some of those cities. Massive
Yeah, I haven't
buildings down
seen
there.
that. I have not looked at much at that part of Africa.
hmm Well, that's the colonial
Man.
influence, right? The Boers and the
Right.
colonials, right? Yeah.
The Dutch, right? Isn't it
Yes. Yeah.
very weird?
Our history is I think it's much shorter. The history that we can relate to directly, like post cataclysm, it really shortens up your perspective of what you think you know about this place and who we are. Like when you start to get into this theory, and then it allows for all sorts of unknown when you look at these structures. Like what was it like before, right? But
Yeah, it is. It's incredible. And it's, sometimes I spend a lot of time reading really old, dry history books,
Mm.
and they're not like, they're the kind where it's like the history of this county, and it's 1,000 pages, and it's, it goes to every town, and then, there's a long 50-page stretch at the end that tells you who the prominent members were and what kind of harvest they had. And, if you can stomach going through all that, there is little gems that pop up,
hmm
and you find little bits of information where they just kind of, it's like, did they mean to put that in there? Like there was a harbor somewhere in California, and they were
Mhm.
talking about the construction of this, a pier, and I think it was like a ferry, and they talk about the excitement when the first steam engine arrived, in San
Mhm.
Francisco, and it was
Mhm.
late in the game. It was I want to say 1880 something. So it's like, so for
Really?
30 years, not even a steam engine, and the whole state, not even one. You're all happy when one came. It's just things like that. They're just like, yeah, there's something going on. Even if you can explain it, well, they had steam engines. It's like they had one. They had one. It says right here. Yeah, I mean, I guess the books could be wrong, but it seems a weird thing to be wrong about. The
Well,
excitement of a steam engine arriving. I don't know.
yeah, no, they have photographs of San Fran from the 1870s and the 1850s. built
and
out.
it's built out crazy.
It's
Yeah, and that's after
ridiculous.
5 or 6 fires. Literally
Yeah.
burnt down 4 or 5 times. That's just
The cat's out of the
if-
bag on that
totally.
one. You know.
Yeah, that one's too much.
Yeah, it's. I mean, John Levi's book, Old World, they blew it out of the water with all sorts of research that just like
He's
made
got
it
a book?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, really? Nice. Good for him.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, he put one out. Called Old
Very
World.
cool.
And it focuses predominantly on San Francisco from its inception historically until up to the World's Fair. And
That's a good one.
They picked the timelines apart, like how many horse and carts you'd be able to travel to that location in a day. You know, you could do this with a lot of incidences, the World's Fairs. You could do this with a lot of these types of buildings. Just pick apart their timeline with the resources they're said to have had. And AI is actually helping us with that too now, like the Grok stuff.
There's a few that are ridiculous, like Australia. There's a few that stand out. San Francisco, where it's like, there's too much information that they put out.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like it's like the liar that just keeps talking. When they could have just been like, I don't know, man, it wasn't me. They're like, it wasn't me. I wasn't there. I had a green T-shirt on that day. Plus, Jimmy saw me. You don't remember that, Jimmy? I mean, like they just keep going and going. It's like eventually you're like, okay, like I'm sort of suspicious now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of what San Francisco reminds me of.
Yeah, this is Durban, South Africa.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Man, South Africa. Is that still there?
I don't.
That is wild.
I don't know. I would guess it is. A lot of them are still there down there. I should do a South Africa investigation video for sure.
I have not looked at South Africa at all, man. That's wild.
You can see the statues too, just barely. Can you make those out? It's a bit grainy, but
yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, why?
the same
I
style.
don't understand.
Mm-hmm. And
I
then
don't understand.
poor old horse and buggies out. Look at this is a rickshaw. Is this a rickshaw? There's not even a horse there.
Come on.
It's just a man pulling.
Give me a break.
That's just a man pulling his rickshaw. He's going by this building.
One brick at a time, just hauling it over. What is that?
Come on. Right? That was the transportation they had. And that's the buildings they had.
That makes me wonder what you just said there. I was just thinking about what you said. They find like bodies under Benjamin Franklin's floorboards.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a lot of that where it's like, yeah, we found all these bodies under this person's floor, but they were a killer, and like it's actually that they were just already there, like people that drowned,
Mm-hmm.
And then, because I never understood why you would dig a root cellar, you would dig a basement, and then fill it with dirt, and make a cellar out of it.
Yeah.
A lot of times, it's just
Kinda
odd. It makes you wonder how many bodies are actually under some of these
The cover story.
buildings.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me think of that clip from Meet Me in St. Louis where the little girl is like, oh, there's the mud flood and the hurricane in Galveston and all the mud.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And there was bodies everywhere. Right. Like
There's a scene where they're talking about like, oh, this all used to be a swampland. And then one guy's like, I liked it better when it was a swamp.
Yeah.
It's just like.
Just telling us to our faces. In
All
the 40s,
time.
right? That was in right after World War II, that was that movie. Or right during, I'm not sure. Mid-40s.
Yeah, that's a funny movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, imagine those attractions today. Like, dude, did you check out Disneyland's new 9/11 ride? Like, it's just a strange thing.
Yeah, that's right. That's the
Like,
sort of parallel.
Yeah, it's very weird. It's like, I don't know, man. You guys getting your kicks off like, oh, well. I mean, I guess in a world with there's not much entertainment, you have newspaper. I guess it would be exciting, but it seems a little morbid. I don't know.
Look, they recreated the battle of whatever in World War II, just like the battles back then. I guess Hollywood does a lot of that for us.
That's true, I guess. Yeah, like the Titanic. Yeah, that's true. A lot of disasters are. But I guess it seems weirder in person when it's like, to me. I guess you're right, though, when you put it like that.
Yeah.
I guess disaster is.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I spend a lot of time watching shipwreck videos lately. There's a few channels that just talk about the horrors of from the 1800s, like on the Great Lakes, the storms, and I got sucked down this little rabbit hole of when I was sort of reading up on Michigan and the Great Lakes, and that they talk about there's thousands of shipwrecks in the Great Lakes, which seemed improbable And so I started watching these videos about all these wooden ships and all these, these horrific stories of them freezing to death and stuff.
Where are you
And
watching
so,
this?
yeah, I mean,
On a network? On a TV network?
oh, just on YouTube. Yeah, just
On
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple channels that I've found, and they're not, they don't question the narrative at all.
Yeah.
In fact, they're really in depth about, what the captain's name was and his history and the history of the ship, But it is pretty fascinating. So I guess my point is stuff like that, or horror, tragic stories. I guess we are entertained by that for some reason. So maybe it's not so weird.
Yeah, for sure, right? And or true crime, there was grisly murder, brutally murdered.
People love that.
And, eating your popcorn and you're kind of scared, but you're glad it's not you that got
People
murdered.
love those, man. I don't like the murder stuff.
No.
I think a lot of that is not real. Too many serial killers, and they're like,
it's
it's
drama,
always
right?
the nice ones. It's always the nice guy.
Yeah.
That lives
Don't
alone.
trust anybody.
Don't trust anyone. Yeah. Did your neighbor wave at you? He's a killer.
Yeah.
It's
like, do you know the Tom Waits
easy.
song? What is he building in there? Have you heard that one?
Yeah.
That's kind of what is he building in there?
Right. Look at all the blinds.
Yeah. He's got a table saw and a router. It's all speculation. There's no. My kids hate it because there's no. My kids just keep asking me, "What is he building?" I want to know, right? But that's the point of the song. It's like,
right. We'll never
nosy
know.
neighbor. Taken from the perspective of the nosy neighbor, right?
Yeah. He's just he's basically, that's the modern version of that, is like the Nextdoor app.
Yeah.
People are just. I don't know if you have that in Canada.
I don't know what that is. No. What's
Okay, it's like a Facebook for your neighborhood,
okay.
kind of. And it's a way to, like, in theory, it makes sense. Yeah, your dog is a loose dog over here, or
Yeah.
what's going on over here, the traffic closure, I guess. But what it turns into is just people like, there's a guy and he's outside, and every day he looks around on his phone, and a different car picks him up and a different car drops him off. I think he's a pimp. And it's like, or he just like catches an Uber to work and back. I don't know. It's just a lot of people suspicious of each other.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like to me.
I could see that going south in a hurry. Like, I think somebody's dog has been crapping on everybody's lawn. I think I know who it is, but I don't want
dude,
to
yeah.
stalk
It gets unbearable.
Is
It
that
gets unbearable.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. It is exactly like that.
What's it called again? I'm gonna write that down.
It's called Nextdoor.
Nextdoor.
Yeah. And like each neighborhood, it'll be like, you have to prove you live there. That we're going to mail you something, and then I don't know. I used to go troll it all the time, make up outlandish stories.
Yeah.
And then I'd feel terrible because people would fall for them.
You got to be careful with humor sometimes. People don't get it. People don't get jokes.
I mean, I thought it was really obvious. It'd be like, what's that smell? And I'd be like, dude, there's an underground factory, where there's naked orphans that burn styrofoam all day to fuel these industries. And they'd be like, they need a permit for that. And I'm like, okay, dude, maybe I don't know. Maybe I got to tone it down. That's his real story. I'm not even exaggerating.
No, I believe you. I do believe you. It's funny. It's really funny.
Yeah, so it's not as cool as it sounds next door, but
yeah.
That's the modern day version of that. Just squinting at your neighbor suspiciously, like everyone's a killer.
That's awesome.
Wait, now what is this building here? I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We're just riffing. This is Hanover, Germany, I believe. Hanover.
Okay.
City Hall. These are all city halls, as far as I know. Check out back here. Weep.
What?
I don't know. It's kind of obvious, guys.
What are we calling that one this time? Like, I remember a little Christian school. You get your little book of like pagan symbols, and then it turns out that they just mean different stuff everywhere.
Yeah. I don't know. As far as I know, is that a cross above it?
Sheriff's badge? Is that a
sheriff's badge?
ninja star? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know anymore.
That's funny. Yeah.
I mean, I know Satanists use them, pentagrams. I know that, they've come. I know symbols can come to mean different things, but it's really hard for me to interpret what a symbol means anymore. Swastikas on buildings and Native American art and stuff. It's like, I don't know.
And
Who
what
knows
kind of
what they
power
even
we give
mean?
those symbols, right? It was like, was it Elon waving his hands yesterday, and like it went viral that he was giving the Sieg Heil.
That's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like some of that is so dumb.
Oh yeah, I
And,
know. It's funny though.
like they watch a 2-hour speech of someone and they freeze it on the moment his hand's doing something. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
confirmed Satanist. It's like, man,
Yeah.
let's just take it easy on that.
But the beauty of that is like saw the other side that supports Elon, freeze framing all the left, like the Obamas and Hillary,
Right.
with the
Yeah,
arm
yeah.
in the air. It's like, what about all these? You forgot to report on all these.
At this point, if you're in public speaking, you're screwed. Like
Yeah.
they can freeze frame it or take your words and make it AI, and
Yeah.
it's just like
Gotta be careful how you hold your hands and
just muddy in the waters.
how you
man.
scratch your face, right? Gotta
Yeah,
not
and they're like,
cover
"Oh,
one eye.
dude!" Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It's overboard. It's overboard for sure.
just muddy in the waters. Making it really hard to tell what the hell's going on in this world.
Yeah. Gouda.
So, yeah, Elon too. Yeah, you know what? Actually, I just see the chat for the first time here. Oh, what's up, Kathy? Yeah, Elon too. I keep hearing that they replaced Elon or whatever. I mean,
Yeah. Like it's not the real Elon? Is that what you mean?
yeah, I mean, I have no idea,
Elon
but I have
Musk.
heard that. I've heard that before. I got
Who
a family
knows?
member that's watches that stuff closely.
We're civilians. I like to remind myself that I'm a civilian and I have
Mhm.
never been in any sort of military intelligence level of knowledge whatsoever. And I always knew my whole life that the military intelligence was like leaps and bounds beyond civilian, and I still maintain that stance. So I don't think I can understand even how the military mind works and what they have at their disposal. So that's kind
Yeah,
of
it's bizarre. Yeah. And a lot of it, I mean, a lot of veterans and stuff, especially infantry folks, they come out, they oftentimes didn't know what they're getting themselves into.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you wonder how high up that goes. You wonder if it's like, just shut up and take orders.
Mhm.
Don't ask questions.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think I think if you have the right people steering that ship, I think it can be used for the betterment of mankind as well. And I don't rule that out whatsoever.
Mhm.
It's
You almost
just
have to get to the top, though. You almost have to get to a place where you can give the orders,
yeah,
or you don't thrive in those systems,
yeah, yeah.
which is a very clever design. Whoever's at the heart of it all, outside of whatever force, or it seems to me like some being or that has had a long time to formulate these strategies, and a lot of hate.
Yeah, we've been tested on too. Our psychology has been played with, since these guys got here and started all this. And what do you think the asylums were? The asylums were testing grounds, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Not what
We
they
know
say.
Yeah.
Definitely not what they say.
Oh, yeah. When I kind of said that in one of my videos about the psychiatric field in general. Like, if you're like in the psychiatric field, I'm sorry, but you need to look at your history and how it came to be. You need to understand what you're a part of, because it's not pretty, and it's not. I don't know. It
wasn't that long ago either.
No, and it still
Wasn't that
continues.
long ago. Mm-mm.
No,
I mean,
and the weird part is it's like common knowledge in our society, but at the same time, it's like, well, we did learn a thing or two by torturing these people, and we'll use it to our
yeah.
benefit. Yeah. That used to be one of my biggest fears as a kid. That used to be one of my biggest fears. Is like asylums, right? Getting locked up in an asylum.
Really, that would
I never
suck.
liked those. Yeah, like in watching those kind of movies, I always found them really claustrophobic. Yeah.
There was when I was in Prague once, and actually was outside of Czech Republic. I don't even know how I got myself in this situation. But somehow I was staying at, a lot of the people that live in the city in Prague have a little, like a outside house they go to on the weekends to kind of get out of the city.
Okay. Yeah.
It's maybe an outside. And it was an older couple, and they had an old cottage. They were fixing it up, And at night, there was an asylum up the street. And at night, they told me, yeah, you can see they take them for a walk at night in the evenings. And some of them will have the straitjackets on.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought they were being sort of like, they don't really have straitjackets on. Straight up, they did.
Wow.
A few of them in the line. There was only like 11 of them. But I mean, this was like 2002, maybe?
Yeah.
So it's like, even then,
Mm-hmm.
they still parading people around in straitjackets. It's just like, man, that was not that long ago. Now, I granted, they were like 12 years just out of communist rules, so they're a little bit behind us, but still, if it was common, then it's just not that long ago we were doing that stuff.
Well,
And now they're just homeless and just can run around, whatever.
and you get fentanyl and all the rest of it, no problem. Yeah.
Now there's no place for them to go.
That sounds like you're sending a message to the community when you're parading them out like that too. Everyone's like, you don't want to be in that lineup.
Right, yeah.
Like, yeah, my old man talks about that. He grew up in Newport, Wales, and they had a St. Cadoc's was the a psychiatric hospital on the hill. And it was a common thing to say to each other. It's like, you don't want to end up in St. Cadoc's. You don't want to be saying that. You don't want to end up in St. Cadoc's. Like, I think it was,
You get one flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. They're like,
Yeah.
they tell them, it's up to her whether you get out, bud. Doesn't matter if you're insane.
Yeah.
The head nurse.
I just tell you, yeah, irrelevant.
She's signing the line like, nope, he's crazy.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would suck.
Yeah, it's pretty intense, but it's a deep part of our history for sure, and it's tied in with all of this, right? And I think that's what we're finding with the old world research. Like, this goes deep. Like, goes deep to a very core of what we actually are, and
Absolutely. And how many of these things seem to be outside of the law, like the medical field or the psychiatric field? Like, at least at that time, it's like they operate with impunity. It feels like.
Yeah, and they masquerade as benevolent. Like, what's that about? Like, just admit it. At least you had like the Stalin and the Mao. At least you knew what you had, right? With
in a way, it's like at least you know what guy.
like,
those guys are the bad guys.
You know not to say because they'll take you away. Here, people are in the West.
You had time to leave town. Sometimes, I mean, I guess.
Well, that's interesting too. I like to bring that up to the communist revolutions of the 20th century, because we talk about erasing the past. I'm like, theirs were overtly erased, like
right
in your face,
publicly burning books. Yeah,
and killing people. I mean, is it the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia? They targeted all the educated people. They took out all the adults.
Yeah, Pol Pot, right?
Yeah, that's their perfect world right there. That's a reset. That's a recent reset. And that's what we're talking about as we look back into the past. I don't think that was the first time that happened, right? It's not such a stretch.
And I mean, you're displacing people constantly, and how can people even have time to feel any connection with their roots or their past or anything, And then you take all your elders out of the home and give them assisted living, and then you don't have time to talk to grandma about real things. It's just, how you doing? Yeah. And a lot of them have, it's sad because a lot of them have very interesting lives that most people never hear about.
And they've got it down to a science now where they separate us by age, right? The elderly eventually just leave. It's their modus operandi, right? It's a part of the system that they set up for sure. So you don't have access to the old stories. Right.
Or the interest, and they're just sort of like I really regret not spending more time with my grandmother and asking her anything. What was school like? You hear stories now from my older aunts and stuff, and it's like, and they're like, I realized I learned when we were poor, when I went into my mom's closet and I saw she had one dress. It was like she had her daily clothes, one outfit, and then the Sunday dress, and she's like, and then it struck me right there that we were poor, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know what that's like that. How'd you get out of that?
Yeah,
I don't know. Very interesting.
Yes. It's a different they've definitely, in our modern day, they definitely got us cordoned off, so it's difficult to dig into our past and what may have actually happened.
Yeah, she was a funny lady too. She didn't believe in the moon landing, and everyone would ridicule her about it.
Interesting.
And she'd be so mad. She's like, that's ridiculous. There are no
Yeah.
people up there, you know? And everyone's like laughing at her. And now it's like, vindication for old grandma. You know?
There's something like that's so obvious to me at this point in my life.
It's
The moon landing?
ridiculous.
How is that a part of our official narrative? Can't there be like an executive order? Like we officially recognize that we did not go to the moon. You know, like that would be nice.
Yeah.
Get the Trump's pen
One
out
video. One video. Well, you watch one video, actually watch it, and you're like, what is this?
there.
You know, it's taking off to go back home, and it shoots little pixie dust.
Yeah.
And like the
It
camera
doesn't make
follows it
sense.
leaving, and it's like, what? Like,
It's got a lawn chair and like the chassis for like a Jeep.
it's so bad. It's so unbelievably
It's so
bad.
bad. It is so bad. You know, we're being punked. Totally being punked.
God.
I don't know.
You feel bad
But-
for him, man. I mean, that trusting, it just sucks. It just sucks that all these people are
But
lied
what's
to.
worse though, what's worse is that the notion that we did go still being upheld in like conventional society. That's even worse. Like at this point, it's like, how are we still at that point in time that we
Yeah.
still think that way? And I think we're shifting away from it. I do. You know, like
It
it's
seems like it. Yeah. It's not so
Yeah.
controversial anymore to be like, do you believe in the moon landing? Like, no.
yeah,
But I believe everything else.
yeah.
It's like, all
Yeah.
right. That's not, you know, it seems there's like a 50, 60 year gap before it's like, okay, we killed JFK.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, we're supposed to be getting some D-class on that. That wasn't that promised?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
And I mean, it's like all the people that were emotionally invested in it, it's at the end of their life usually by now. You
Yeah.
know,
Good point.
how lame. How lame.
Yeah. It's true.
Like what kind of people what kind of country kills their
Yeah.
their leader and like
That's
just
another one
weird.
that's obvious, right? Like the trajectory of the bullets and all the rest of that. And it's like Masonic,
the
right?
multiple shots,
The thing
whole
just
thing.
reeks of It's like
the whole thing.
It's like shut the heck up. Don't speak out against us. Seems to be what it was. Right?
Yeah, man. I'm grateful for people like you and and a lot of the people that I've, you know, kind of met, you know, through messages and stuff that aren't afraid to tackle some of this stuff. You know, I just think it's important. It is important to challenge, you know, to kick the tires
Mm-hmm.
on everything.
Yeah. I have to be careful because YouTube's YouTube, but
Mhm.
I would love to go off on, and I've done a few Unleashed over on Rumble where I speak a little more freely, but I think we need a lot of things that need to be brought up are important, and hopefully YouTube maybe didn't the YouTube owner like die a couple months ago, Susan Wojcicki or something like that.
I don't know much about the infrastructure of YouTube. You know,
Yeah.
I've seen Zuckerberg do his little 180. Not that I don't even use Meta or Facebook, whatever it's called anymore, but
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah.
something like that would happen to more platforms, even if they're not genuine, even if they're just got, you know, finger in the wind.
Yeah,
Still,
yeah.
I'll take it. You know,
Yeah, like free to speak your mind type of thing, right? And then just ridicule if you don't like it and move on. And that's kind of how it should be. That's was the original hope, I think, for things like YouTube was, and there was less censorship, right? And then they went through the big censorship
yeah.
campaign. But
I'm
it's
convinced
weird.
there's no humans work there anymore. Like
I
it's
think it's
just
all-
all. I think so. Like there was a video though, one of the Civil War videos I've made.
Yeah,
They flagged it for being you know, sensitive material showing, you know, dead bodies or whatever.
mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, let's look at what they're talking about. And it's like a black and white grainy picture, and there's no blood visible. It looks like a scarecrow on the ground, and it's like, okay, like whatever, I'll give them that, you know.
Yeah.
So they were gonna put a tag on it that was like 18 plus, sensitive material. I didn't want the tag, so I go back in and I edit it, and re-upload it, and I'm like, email them, hey, all right, check it out now for review. Literally 30 seconds later, I get an email like, yeah, no, we looked at it. Yeah, it's still got. And I'm like, well, y'all didn't even let it upload in time. Like I thought I had like a day.
That's
She
awesome.
said to get back to me in 3 days, and then they're like, well, you can't challenge it more than once now. And the response times are just instantaneous. It's like, man, there's not even a human looking at this stuff. It's just some bot.
That same thing happened to me in Amazon when I put my books out, and they're like flagged it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they're like, we're not going to tell you what you need to do to change it, but you need to change something about about what you've done. And I'm like, okay, well, could you specify? And like, no, it's
Yeah.
just to read our policies and like, okay,
You
great.
figure it out. You just keep tearing out pages until.
Yeah. It was I don't know. So I got away from them, but it's the same thing. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to do whatever we want to do, and we're just going to give you a fake reason, and that's just how it's going to be, right?
Yeah, it's
funny.
a dance. It's a funny dance to try to keep them off your back. Now, what is this one here?
Vienna, Austria. This is their city hall.
No way.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen this picture.
No.
Does it still look like that?
Mm-hmm. What do I have? There it is.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Wild.
I think this.
God.
Remember what you were saying earlier about like how you'd have trouble functioning? I would definitely have trouble functioning if I went to Vienna. Looking at all this stuff, I'd be like gasping for air and have the paper bag, hyperventilating, looking at all this stuff. Maybe that's why I
went to Vienna briefly when I was like 20, maybe 20 years old. I bought hats. That's all I remember. I bought like some Austrian hats. It's like, man, you know how many people go there and it's just oblivious. It's cool looking, but it's like you're just not even paying attention. You know, I just can't imagine. I just can't believe how blind I've been most of my life, or just disinterested in that. You know.
No, I think that it speaks to the awakening that we're undergoing. I think, like, because I was like, I've shared this before. I was hardcore conspiracy researcher. I knew everything about 9/11, 20 years ago. But I didn't see any old world. It wasn't in my purview at all. I wouldn't even have thought to go down that rabbit hole until I started watching a couple of John Levi's and Michelle Gibson. I'm just like, what is going on here? That was
I'm the same way, man.
Yeah,
same exact way. I had no. It just didn't. It didn't for some reason. It wasn't even. And it makes me wonder always, like, what else am I missing? You know?
Yeah. What am I not seeing now that I'll be seeing 3 years from now? Or it's like, is there could anything be as big? Like this is big. Like the old world. Once you wake up to the old world, I'm like, this is like paradigm altering completely.
And I think it's a common bond that all humans can or has the potential to see for themselves, Like there's not just you're not trusting someone across the sea. It's like you got them in your town too. You know what I mean? You
can go look.
That just shows the scope and the scale of the deception.
Yeah, how can something so big? And that's like we talked about earlier. That's what stops people sometimes. They're like, can't possibly be this big. It's the same as the moon thing. I get that rebuttal for people that still believe in the moon landing. It's like, well, you would have had to have fooled 2,000 people that work at NASA to make this possible. Not possible. That's reasoning I've had before for believing the moon landing.
It's like, well,
what about the footage?
Not necessarily. Though? I mean,
that's compartmentalization and hierarchy. Right, that's how the system works. Like all the Masons, for instance, when you look back at all the Masonic lodges, like, well, not everybody in that Masonic lodge needs to be in the know. I think that phrase actually comes from Masonic hierarchy, in the know. Right,
you have a test-based curriculum that just excludes exploring, and it's just you just teach people how to think, and they don't ask questions. The teacher teaches what she's told she has to teach, and and is unwitting in passing that down.
They're not like, I'm secretly teaching lies. Like,
right, they're not all villains.
Wouldn't work that way. Because they're playing on our good intentions. They use our good. That's what they did with the pandemic too. They use our good intentions against us. Right.
What's that movie where the guy where they have all the girls believing that they're living in a town in the 1800s? It's like a cult. And they pay the government to not fly overhead, and they tell them there's monsters in the forest. And then after enough time, the people that know the lie pass away. Yeah. And then soon there's no one even in the village that knows about the lie. They're just kicking it down. It's an interesting movie in that regard.
The chat, looking for help from the chat because
I can't remember what it's called. It's like
vaguely remember the plot.
The Village. That's it.
The
Village.
M. Night Shyamalan, I think.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, the Sixth Sense guy. Oh yeah, that's an interesting concept. I remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't think I've seen them in the whole thing. I think someone I think maybe it was Mark Sargent. I think it was Mark Sargent brought it up in a video that he put out a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
That made me check it out and just read. I like to read the synopsis of a lot of Hollywood stuff rather than go watch it because
Yeah.
I'm curious about the story, but I don't want all the. So I don't know if it's a good movie or not, but
It's been years. I can't even do movies anymore, actually. It's just, I've tried a few times, tried a few over Christmas. I did a few of the classics with the kids over Christmas, and you kind of like, it is what it is, but I don't know.
It's striking. You watch like Charlie Brown Christmas, and it's like, what a wholesome show Charlie Brown is. It's basically just music and kids kind of walking around.
Dancing with each other, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
right?
it's like, what? I want to get back to that.
Yeah, it's funny. But they had us under a real spell with movies too. That's broken too. Hollywood's dead. I think Hollywood is done. So it's a crazy time. There's a void to be filled there with other content.
Yeah, thankfully.
Would love to see an old world movie, like write a script. Hey, we should do that. Me and you should like write a script together of an old world scenario about. Imagine that.
I'd be down to give it a shot for sure.
So I bet you're good at that kind of thing. I could write.
I wonder how you do it. Do you do it from the point of view of like do you do it from the point of view of the person that's like the Truman Show guy, like waking up to it, or do you do the point of view of like you're the robber baron perspective, weaving I don't know.
Yeah,
but I think there might be something there though.
I would go from the perspective that I'm like the robber baron's assistant that has a bit of humanity and doesn't like what he's seeing.
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
Torn, right? Torn.
Like you're the guy, like like you're the guy. What's this? This is a terrible musty reference, but Nicolas Cage on Con Air, where he's like, "I'm not a convict, but I'm staying on the plane." He's like dropping hints, like sabotaging it from the inside.
Yeah, right. So you can't give it away, and then you're like, and then maybe you're working when you're modifying these photos, and you're giving like obvious references to make it obviously doctored.
Yeah,
100 years from now, they're gonna see this. And
sometimes I feel like that's happening. Like sometimes I feel like there's some hacker on the inside that's like changing stuff, and it's like he's behind Mandela effect, I like to imagine this. I don't actually think this is real, but I like to imagine he's like changing stuff, like prominent quotes in movies, and he's like, they still don't get it. Like, like he just keeps dropping these clues every time. It's like, how much more obvious do I got to make it, until you get these these Roombas like Biden, and it's like, how are they not understanding?
Yes, I actually think that's kind of where we are with a lot of these things right now.
Oh man.
Yeah. But I think that's what art has been.
It's a funny way to look at it, but I'm sorry. I don't mean to get you off.
That's fine. No, I think that's kind of what art has been over time. It's like our at a consciousness level, it's like our humanity. That's what true art really is. It's like poking through the that illusion that they gave us and showing us that.
Certainly seems like it, yeah. Guys like David Lynch and
you can kind of reach through the matrix illusion that they created for us and like show you something real. And
I mean, when you have a wide reach, there's opportunity there to make a difference. And if you can do that dance where you are somehow embraced by the community that you're destroying, I guess that's it's one way to be effective.
You can leave a calling card or at least something to retain your humanity before you. Yeah. That makes me think of all this, the Hollywood stuff and all these stars who are potentially compromised through blackmail, rings and all that kind of stuff. But they still are artists and they still have an element of humanity in them. And then they have to, they're using their outlet. Like, so for instance, not everything Tom Hanks did is bad now that I know these things about Tom Hanks, just an example. Right. Like this, there's an element of an outlet that still needs to come out, which means, like, for instance, when Diddy got busted, I was playing Mo Money, Mo Problems like for like 5 days straight. Like, hear this, man. It's
yeah, God. It is amazing though, the depths of some of their depravity. It's like, you always kind of knew he's like a douchebag. But then, once it starts to unlock this really dark thing, and it's like, dude, if that's what people want to do, like rich people, like you get to a point where you just want the most forbidden thing ever. Like you want to hurt people that are the most vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm being careful with what I'm saying, but
Uh-huh.
you know,
I hear you.
man, that's a sick place.
Yeah, there's a line there. There's a line that's being crossed there for sure. Yeah, and I think there's a consciousness. When you're crossing that line. I think there's a choice that gets made.
Mm-hmm.
This is. I just assume that's the case, that you don't just accidentally walk into it. But I think that's what that blackmail aspect of it is like. You put someone in a situation where they can't refuse it. Maybe.
Hey, it seems like it's the only way to keep people quiet.
Yeah. Well, these nefarious forces that have been here for not as long. So that's another thing too. I saw someone in the chat earlier is like, "Oh, how do you take out a 6,000-year death cult?" I've seen that meme a lot too. It's like my message, and what I like about the old world research is like they haven't been in control that long, guys. They have not had a hammer over our existence for the last 6,000 years. That's what they want you to think. That's why they want you to think they're all powerful with everything that they do and say, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a much shorter timeline than they're letting on to believe. That's how I look at it, anyway.
Yeah, it's an interesting viewpoint, and then you hear about things like the Hegelian dialect and stuff, and like, well, when there's a leader, when there's one that the people believe in, he's gonna come saying all these nice things, and that's how you'll know he's the bad guy. And it's like, well, then how is the good guy supposed to come? Like I just don't. I feel like that the way that these narratives are spun, you're not gonna trust anybody, So like even when I just pray for the wisdom, like is this event happening, or is it just Project Bluebeam? Like, will I know it when I see it? Will I know truth when it's in my face? And I hope so.
I think we have good truth detectors. You can feel truth, at some level.
I hope so. I pray so, man.
But you have healthy skepticism too, right? With that, and I think any of us who seek truth, that's what we were talking about earlier. It's like, would we even know, even if we were told the ultimate truth on everything? Would be like, I'm still not 100% sold. So that's healthy, though. I think.
And then they get taken too far. The black pill, where it's like, I now believe in nothing, and it's like. You don't want to go too far that way either.
No, that's not helping. Yeah, it is. No. It is for sure. Yeah.
Well, you do it well, sir.
Thanks. Yeah. So do you. We have fun, but you got to laugh though. Humor is key. I saw that in the chat earlier too. Right. Like I knew that about you when I got into your content. That sense of humor comes across really strong, and it's really important. To have that with anything. I think I get that from my father's side, the British side, where they can laugh at each other and laugh at themselves. Being able to laugh at yourself is huge too, I think.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And I honestly can't help it. Even when I try to take something super serious, I just can't help it. Eventually, no matter how down it gets, there's something funny that happens.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's a mechanism, a coping mechanism. Someone might say, okay, maybe, but
yeah,
it works for me.
But I always like the phrase, like to make light of something, to lessen load is one way of looking at it. Also to make light, to actually bring light where it's dark. So there's a bunch of metaphors hidden within that language, right? To make light of something.
Yeah,
because you hear people say, "Don't make light of it. Don't make light of it." You've heard that phrase before, too, right?
It's true. Well, why not? Good turn of phrase. Yeah. Keep it heavy.
Yeah, keep it heavy. Keep it serious. Right? It's like, I don't think I will. I don't think I control the humor, right?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's not a fun ride. A fun ride is like, the troughs and the crests.
Yeah, totally. That's funny. I like this one. This is a famous train station in India. The Bombay.
Wow.
Mumbai.
That's a train station?
I believe so. Yeah.
That's preposterous.
Or hotel train station type thing. Look at, they have the horse-drawn.
No trains though. I never understood why a train station needs to be 4 or 5 stories. Like, what? You're not taking a train out of the story. Like, shouldn't it just be one? And I mean, I guess you can make it wide and long, but I don't understand. What are you doing on the 5th floor? Like, what's going on there?
Didn't they do a movie was it like a hotel Budapest or something like that? There was a few years back, and it was really, now that I recall, visually stunning. So I think it was like showcasing these types of crazy railroad hotel station type
That is
things.
wild.
Hmm. Mumbai now. That's
Mumbai. Oh yeah, okay.
right.
Formerly,
Bombay.
was that Bombay? Yeah,
I
yeah.
think so. Yeah. Hard to keep track sometimes.
It is. That's another thing is that I find frustrating. You look at these old maps and it's like, well, it used to be called this, and yeah, now it's called that. Sometimes you get a like Moscovia. It's like okay, like
Mhm.
Moscow, but sometimes there's
It's
nothing
completely
linguistic
different.
that it's a completely
Yeah.
different name.
And this is a good example of the colonial narrative we were talking about earlier too, or like the British are doing their thing. The British crown just everywhere. At one point, like 120 years ago, 140 years ago, the British crown was just everywhere.
Yeah,
You
and how the population so that island like England is smaller than New England,
Yeah.
which I mean I think there's. I was watching some video with I think English guy and he was dumbfounded about how large America was, and he's
Mhm.
like, there's like 40 states larger than the country than the United Kingdom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he couldn't believe it. And it's like that, how many babies did you people have to send them to every corner of the earth
Mhm.
to such an extent that they dominated and
Mhm.
then enforce their style and their building style and their religion on everywhere? It's just like, I don't even see how that's logistically even possible.
Yeah.
Dying in
Yeah.
wars by the hundreds and thousands, war with France for 30 years and 100 years here, so many wars. It's like we just got endless people here. And then the
Yeah.
Black Death, it doesn't seem to phase anybody. Like we still got enough people to go conquer India, which is like a billion people there. I just don't buy it.
You know what I think never happened? You know those wars where they line up against each other and shoot? They
Oh
just like
yeah, yeah,
position
yeah,
themselves like 200 feet away, shoot, and then they reload.
yeah,
I don't think that ever happened.
yeah.
It goes against every human instinct just
You
to
wouldn't
stand
even
in
see
front of.
people do that with paintball guns. Even with
Exactly.
paintball guns, it'd be like, hell no, I'm diving behind the sandbags. I'm not standing up here. Like,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't know. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I wish I knew what happened. I mean, obviously, there's every good lie, there's got to be a healthy dose of truth in there.
Mhm.
It's hard to figure out sometimes where it was stretched and where it was, and I think that buildings like these are the ones that they won't go away. They're too big,
Mhm.
too big to destroy, I guess, in time, or they're just, it's a really blessing that we have these things like these Capitol buildings and stuff, because
Mhm.
without them, I don't know. You wouldn't, it wouldn't be so, obvious. So
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for whoever built them
Mhm.
for leaving us these clues.
Yeah, it's a different energy that comes with these buildings too, right?
Absolutely.
Some of the skylines that you see in postcards, for instance, from 120 years ago, and then you see them now, and it's like box, 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 tower box.
Right.
So it is
And
like an invading force. Sorry.
there's something to it when you're in the presence of some of these cathedrals or inside of them, even
Mhm.
ones in small towns. There's just an undeniable feeling.
Mhm.
And they just sometimes give you this me personally, just a strange feeling inside of like, this feels foreign. Like
Mhm.
this feels like something that's got old energy in it.
Mhm.
So you come across some of these old places in Nashville, and there's a strange energy to it that
Mhm.
I sense. I mean, maybe I'm
Mhm. No, I
whatever.
hear you. Yeah.
Maybe I've lost it, but
Yeah.
it just it's the pictures are one thing, but when you're
Yeah.
there, also
Yeah.
sometimes or even inside, it's like it's breathtaking.
Yeah. That's one
It's
thing I'm
just
missing. Where I am, I'm up in northwest BC, and there's not a lot here. You have to drive. I've told people this before, a good 7, 8 hours before you get to a city that has this type of stuff. We're way up here. So I
really.
definitely, yeah, I'm missing that aspect of it for sure. Um, but
Yeah,
what
there's not
got
a
me,
lot here either, but there's some.
yeah,
Yeah.
Arizona, I've tried, and I just like, I mean, Michelle Gibson says it's there, but I have trouble researching it. It's hard to research it from my end,
Hmm.
the way I do things. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a funny law here. I guess I don't know if all states have it. I don't think so, but there's a law here where historic buildings are not protected. If you own it, you can tear it down. Sometimes there might be a local uprising, but there's no or very little state protection of them. They're there, not in large quantities, but they're there. If you know how to find them, but not many. Yeah, it's mostly I experience that when I'm traveling to the East Coast.
Yeah, it's I think you got a lot of scorched earth down there, from what I can see. Like how much of it actually got decimated, melted, whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff for sure. Not
Yeah.
so much cathedrals, but there's a lot of very, very odd natural formations and areas. Yeah, Michelle Gibson, is she? That's right. She's like Sedona area, isn't she?
Oh boy, I think so.
I forgot
Scottsdale
that.
ish.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going by memory.
No
I
way.
apologize. I might be wrong. I think so.
That's crazy. If she's in Scottsdale, then she's very close to me. I forgot that.
Yeah, it's yeah, everything I've seen from well, let's go over to Melt actually for a second.
Well,
you-
Michelle,
if-
if you're out there, let's have tea.
Yeah, Michelle, there you go. You have some more time? Can you have another 20 minutes or so? You want to keep
Oh
going?
yeah, yeah.
I'm going to shift gears on the visuals to some of my melt evidence. I don't know if you're down with the meltology and the cataclysm. Well, I do know. Kind of have an inkling that you're probably think something might have happened somewhere along the line on a bit massive scale. I don't want to assume though.
No, I have looked into it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. I'm definitely open to it.
Mhm.
And I haven't looked into it enough to say, I guess for sure. There are definitely things that definitely look that way.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I'll show you some of my best evidence. I call this my best evidence file for strange, anomalous situations.
Okay, yeah. See stuff like that. When you see stuff like that, it's hard to argue against that. I'm saying it's hard to argue against that. Not being melted.
Something ain't right. Something
Or
ain't
something. I mean,
Yeah. Well, you have a couple theories in the field of research, if you will, about they come from different angles. Some are calling it melt. Other people hate it when you call it melt. They have to call it geopolymer, and everyone gets stuck in a camp, right? Let's not get stuck in a camp. It's not what we're doing here.
yeah, the infighting in certain, well, in all communities, it's just too bad.
Mhm.
I know it's difficult sometimes for certain people to start to identify and kind of attach their ego to ideas that they fiercely believe in.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I don't like it, and I just hate to see it when other people, they become enemies over it, or there's a rift. It shouldn't be that way.
Mhm.
We're never going to agree with everything with each other. I don't even see eye to eye with my mom on everything, and I love that woman. So it's like, why would I see eye to eye with anyone else?
Yeah.
So I hate that. I try to approach it all with an open mind, and not scorn anyone's ideas, even if I don't believe it.
Mhm. We can't put a hard and fast line and say we're right. We're definitely right on this one thing. Like that's the trap,
Yeah.
I think.
But yeah, seeing pictures like that is hard to argue against.
It's just
That being
weird.
softened at some point. It looks like something softened and toppled over. I mean, that's
Yeah.
definitely, yeah. I mean, I don't know what. So what's this? The dissenters, I guess, or the argument against this.
Well,
Is
so
there a
convention-
solid one, or
Yeah, well, I think the conventional narrative will say, and the problem is they don't explain everything. There's so much visual evidence coming forward now with the amount of people collecting this stuff that it's the same as all the old world architecture, where they just can't keep up with the narrative, right? They can't keep their lies straight. They'll say this is carved
Yes.
into this rock face, right?
yeah, that's ludicrous. Yeah, I think
It
the
seems that way.
carving. I don't even know why you would do that.
Yeah.
Like I
Well,
I don't understand. Wouldn't it just be easier to chop down the trees and make a different house or whatever? I don't understand why you would hack your way into hack a boulder into.
but never get
rock
there.
egg
Like
to a
all you got
cube.
was a doorway. You just got like
Yeah,
3
I
feet
just don't even see the practicality of it. For what? Like a 3x3 room?
Yeah.
It just seems like and that one in particular. I mean, that just seems silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm torn sometimes between thinking if it's not melted, then a lot of them I think share the same signs of being just underwater for hundreds of years
Mhm,
and eroded that way. I
mhm,
could see it. I could sometimes see it going either way.
mhm, mhm.
But some of
Yeah, a
these
lot of
pictures, man, yeah, it's hard to argue against that.
weird stuff. Like, why would you do this? Right? Turkey's full of this stuff. I did a little poke around Turkey and like random
Crazy.
rocks on like is that like a cave? Like it's just a rock bulging out, right? It
I
doesn't
don't
make
know.
sense.
It almost looks like just like a window casing that's like an imprint of a window casing
Yeah.
in
It's
like
weird
ash and mud. I don't know.
because they'll say it was carved. Like that's what they'll tell us.
Yeah, that's I don't understand. That's silly. Unless it was super soft, why would you
Yeah,
even do that?
yeah.
How long
That's
that would take with like
if you and it'd
bronze
be like
tools or whatever?
he'd be like, "Why do I gotta keep doing this, Dad?" It's like, "Well, you're gonna need a place to put the dog." 'Cause that's all you're gonna
Yeah,
get out of a place like
the
that,
dog
right?
would be dead. The dog would be
Yeah.
dead by the time you
Which
finish
dog?
that
Yeah.
cubby.
8 generations later, dog. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's strange.
You see them everywhere too. This is in India, I believe. And well, this is weird because
It's so bizarre.
this could maybe be caked mud, but I'd have to touch it to know exactly what the texture is here of this. You
It
know.
is. It is hard to say. These.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I agree. Carving into a rock, I don't. I mean, one mistake, and it's like, go. I guess we gotta go find a new rock because we messed up the doorway. There's no patching it, so I just don't understand why they
And
would
part of the
even do
problem
that.
too is like the historical narrative they've given us for the past is like the evolution of steel and metals and hardness factors. So like a lot of times it doesn't wash because they'll tell us that they were carving granite in some cases, and like
Right?
you need like diamond tipped to even make a dent in granite, and they were supposedly using copper chisels. So it's
Yeah, and precise. Like it's all
yeah,
one piece, and with the statue, we're gonna make it so detailed, but it's like one wrong chisel stroke or one wrong fault line, like you just mess up the whole statue. Like now what?
right,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. All that time and effort for nothing, and
Now
well, I
where's
don't know
this
where
one?
we are here, but you can see the roof tiles here, clay tiles, right? I think you guys
Yeah,
have lots of those down there, Arizona
yeah,
way.
many homes have them here.
Yeah,
Is
and
that
you have
actually what they are? They claiming that this is all like the official stories? This is all one rock, like
well, I don't know
one
the official
solid.
story on this location, but I'm just
Hmm.
looking at the situation here. It seems like we have sort of a blend between. If you get close, you can see the 3 rows
Yeah,
of brick, and then it becomes what you might call mud, like up here, right?
yeah,
It
that is
becomes
insane.
confusing, right? To
Yeah, absolutely.
mhm. And that's what
That is
gets me with this
insane.
stuff, right? And it's like I did when I started my channel, I was predominantly architecture, although I did touch on some of this stuff. I didn't really um, I was a little more embarrassed, if you will, to say that I see something in this as well, right? Because the buildings, I don't know, they were just more direct. You could easily relate to, hey, that's a crazy building. But then this really knocks you off kilter for the historical narrative as well, and
Yeah,
and our concept of the place that we live, right? And again, the timeline and all the rest of that.
yeah. There's a lot of that in Arizona. Landscape that is just unreal, almost alien looking, and a lot of it does look melted. I'm torn between has it been underwater for hundreds of years,
Mhm,
or is it is it all just sort of mud? I think about shipwrecks. When I look at them underwater, they look. I
mhm,
wonder if you pull these deep sea wrecks out of the ocean, what do they look like? They look like they were stone. If
mhm.
we would say the same thing, I don't
Yeah,
know. But
but
carved out of rock just makes no sense.
it speaks to cataclysm, though, right? Like we're like
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's the key here is to realize that something big happened here that it's being kept from us. Like that's something that
100%.
they don't want us to know about, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not just people out here carving into rocks all the time. Like, see, there was some drastic stuff that happened. extreme heat, extreme pressures from something.
Something happened. Yeah, something happened,
That is insane.
and we can't explain it really. We don't have the framework to explain the knowledge of that kind of technology to understand what we're looking at. Right.
And I wonder why there aren't more. I mean, I guess I don't wonder why, because you gotta keep their job. But I wonder why I wonder if archaeologists harbor some of these suspicions and just keep it to themselves. Maybe they save it for their wives or whatever. They don't want to come out with it in public because they don't want to lose their job, which that's not that hard to imagine.
Yeah, no, it's like, but that's tough to live a lie that way too. And you go out and you're going to go teach all these. Maybe you're a professor, and deep down that that's what you're teaching is not the truth. And you got to go out there and you're going to tell them that, because that's how you preserve your livelihood and your reputation, your professional reputation. I bet there's more of that than we maybe realize. I suspect.
Totally. And then publish or perish, or then you got to write books on it.
Yeah.
And then what? Now you're.
Then you're invested in the narrative that
you're
writing about, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to, ego steps in, and you're going to call down anyone that contradicts the narrative that you've been writing about.
Absolutely. Then you do it for 20, 30 years. You don't want to tell yourself, my life has been a lie. And you're even more invested to double down.
Angry.
And maybe you're high on your own, profession. I can see it. I can see it happening to people. I think it's a shame. I wish that people were a little bit less afraid to step outside and be wrong. Like, I just don't see. I don't care if I'm wrong. Like, I'm not offended at all. If someone were to show me, like, look, here's a reasonable explanation, and it made sense to me. Like, in a way, I'd be relieved. In a way, I'd be like, oh, phew. For a second there, I thought, I was in a crazy place, but
well, I've had those thoughts for sure, especially when I was first getting into the old world. I had the doubt creeps in and starts flooding you, and it's like, wait a minute, like maybe it is possible for them to have built this in 9 months. Maybe they were just a lot harder workers, and maybe and then you start to sort of come down off of that, and you're like, wait a minute, no, this makes no sense at all. But there's a bit of a roller coaster process that goes on, especially in the early, for me, in my early old world research. But the more you see, the more strengthened you get that something's not right here, and I can probably provide quite a bit of evidence to suggest that being the case. Once you get a bit of time under your belt.
Yeah, you don't want it. It's difficult to. It's difficult to come to terms with it. Oftentimes, it is a struggle. Some people seem to really have a hard time with, they want sure footing. I don't know. I don't have that.
Yeah. Well,
for whatever reason, I'm just not.
I got to look at something like this, and I got to either accept that 1,500 years ago or whatever, they'll tell you they chiseled these for however long for whatever reason, or that something else happened here that does not jive with the story they're telling us about the past. Right? Those are my two options in this case.
Yeah, that is. I don't even know how to explain that.
It doesn't make sense though. Like, we're just using basic logic and deduction to. Okay, it doesn't make sense why you would carve this. There's nothing behind there but like a crappy little room that you might be able to get a fire going, but then it's gonna smoke you out everywhere. And like, it doesn't make sense, right? Why would you carve this as a dwelling?
Especially if you look at, like, if you're just on the top of it, and it just makes you look at every rock and mountain and hill suspiciously, like, what's under that? Yeah. If I were to start chipping away at it, are chunks gonna fall off and reveal doorways like this and what appear to be windows and things? It's like, I don't know, man. This world is just
it's not
endless
what
mystery.
No. And I was at a point too where I was like, there isn't really much. It's like the Truman Show, right? I was like, pretty much everything's been uncovered now. I have been into those points in my life where
I used to feel actually kind of sad about it. Like, man, all the islands already got names.
Yes.
You watch stuff like Swiss Family Robinson as a kid. You're like, that sounds great to just be on an island that no one's ever been on. But too bad, it came too late to the game.
Yeah, everything's been discovered. Truman.
Yeah, what a sad thing to beat into kids.
It is. Yeah. That's why I like. No, go ahead.
I don't have any children. I'd like to feel like that. Not yet anyway, but I would feel like I'd want to be like, well, they say this, but maybe you can figure it out. I feel like that's much more fun to tell a child. We think
I
it's this, but hopefully
yeah,
one day you can figure it out and tell us. Like, rather than be like, no, it is this. Don't question it.
yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't know what that's like.
I like to reaffirm the narrative with my kids so we look up at the sun and I say, kids, that's 93 million miles away, right?
Just to see if they're like,
Oh no, they know. They know, like
they know. Yeah.
they know. These guys went through the pandemic like full on with me, and
Yeah.
we resisted all advances from the enemy. So
Good for you, man.
they're awake, man,
That's
for sure.
great.
Yeah. It's
That is great.
but I'm noticing with the school system, there's they come home and they're telling me about what they learned in their school day, and it's like it's all narrative, right? I think I mentioned this with Flat Earth Dave. He's like, my oldest son is in 8th grade. He was told that the Three Gorges Dam in China slowed the spin of the Earth when they built it. Like, this is something that he was told in school, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a common belief, or is that?
It's official. It's mainstream. It's an official line that showed up in the.
What is it with China and Russian having to just being these weird villains from overseas?
Yeah, right.
It's like the Great Wall of China. You can see it from space, and it's like there are so many bigger things in the Great Wall of China. I don't understand like why we single that out. Like,
Yeah.
who
Well,
comes up with these?
I think it goes back to the communist thing and the fact that they partitioned off humanity and they kept it a mystery what was going on behind either wall,
Totally.
the wall, right? That's like the ultimate Hegelian dialectic. That whole scenario.
It's super strange. I mean, even here, it's like San Francisco. It's like, oh yeah, Chinese were here, Chinatown. Chinese built the railroads.
Yep.
But they're gone or whatever. Like, they're the Russians were here first. Yes, it's true. We have Russian River and we have Fort Russ. The first establishment in California is a Russian fort. But we're just gonna pretend like they didn't really count. It was like it was this dude that showed up.
Yeah.
It's just like, for how long are we going to be doing this? Every tunnel's blamed on some weird version of events. Like, here there's a tunnel, and it's like, well, there's a POW, escape here. The Germans dug it out with a spoon.
Yeah.
And then in Williams, Arizona, it's like, well, they use these tunnels that are connected to this tiny ghost town. They were opium den tunnels. And it's just like,
Yeah.
how many dumb stories I mean, why is it always just Chinese people? I just don't, it's just getting old.
Yeah.
It's like Chinese people no different from us, dude.
Yeah. It's their story's blown. Their cover's blown as far as I'm concerned. That's the fun part of looking into all this stuff. It's like and like my frustration, it's not really frustration, but it's my wish is for everybody to gain that spark of curiosity and not take the official narrative as gospel. And then we can really have some fun. We could have like crowdsource everything. You could, it'd be amazing. I think it'd be like potentially amazing.
Yes, just crack open that door and like let them figure it out on their own. Provide some stuff. Yeah, basically like what you do. Just you want to look at it. Here's a whole bunch of information and pictures and stuff. I've already done the legwork. I gathered them for you. I presented them for you. Know what I mean? Like click or whatever. Like open the book.
Just check it out.
Be curious. Be curious. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a good message. A good place to wrap up. Maybe I think as we hit the 2-hour mark. I think I could go on with you all night. This is really enjoyable.
Dude, me too. Yeah, me too, man. We go into probably so many sidetracks, but I really enjoy this.
Yeah. Maybe we make it a somewhat regular thing every couple of months or whatever. We'll see how it goes.
I would love that, man. Thanks for the opportunity and thanks for the exposure and what you do. And
yeah, for sure.
Sorry, I was so engaged with you. I didn't even really engage with the chat at all. But I'm gonna have to go back and like.
Oh, that's tough. It's tough to do both because like it tears you almost in two.
But I feel bad. I didn't interact with any of them. I'm gonna have to go back through and read it and
get in on the comments or something like that. And a lot of familiar faces in here.
I saw a few. Yeah,
I really appreciate this is our community, really the people that really are interested in this stuff, and I'm feel blessed to have all these familiar faces, and the people that are watching. That you're most welcome to get into this information. I'm happy to be a source for you to get into the old world content. But
I appreciate it, and I echo that. There's been so much encouragement and really nice comments and support. I didn't expect it. I expected nothing really but vitriol from the outside world, and it's been one of the pleasant surprises and very humbling. So I'm very grateful for all of you, and I'm thankful for you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for the awesome conversation, man. I'll do this, man, anytime.
Yeah, keep doing what you're doing, and thanks for letting me use your song as often as I can.
I'm flattered and I'm humbled, and use it as much as you want to.
Cool. Okay, guys, thanks for joining on this first Tuesday attempt to be a regular every Tuesday live broadcast from Old World Exploration. Till next time. This has been an Old World Exploration. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, and comment. I believe we are in the process of remembering who we really are and casting off the shackles of illusion. Until next time.